What's the biggest, most expensive, and maybe most important appliance in your entire house? It's the one you probably never ever think about. We're talking about your HVAC system, that big metal box in the basement or closet that just quietly keeps you comfortable, right up until the moment it doesn't. So today, we are going to do a deep dive on how to understand this thing, how to know when to fix it, and when it's time to say goodbye.
Just picture this for a second. It is the coldest night of the year. The wind is just howling outside and then click. Silence. The heat is gone. I mean, that's not just some little inconvenience, is it? That's a full-blown emergency. An HVAC failure at the absolute worst possible time is pretty much every homeowner's nightmare, and believe me, it happens way more often than you'd think. So when a disaster like that happens, what's the real culprit? You might think it's just old age, or maybe you bought the wrong brand. But the number one enemy of your system, it's the world right outside your window. Your local climate is in a constant, relentless battle with your home, putting incredible stress on every single part of that machine.
Let's take a place like Central Illinois as a perfect example. The weather there just tortures these systems. You've got these brutal sub-zero winter nights, and then just a few months later, it's 90 degrees with this soupy 70% plus humidity. Throw in things like agricultural dust that clogs up the outdoor units, and those wild temperature swings in the spring and fall. They force the system to just constantly turn on and off, on and off. That constant cycling is what absolutely destroys parts, wearing them out way faster than it would in a milder place.
Okay, so all that abuse from the outside leads directly to some really predictable problems on the inside. Now look, 100 different things can go wrong, but the vast majority of those middle-of-the-night emergency calls, they really just boil down to a handful of common failures. Let's break down the big three that are a direct result of all that wear and tear. First up, a classic summer nightmare, frozen evaporator coils. This is when a literal block of ice forms on your indoor unit. And when that happens, no cool air can get through on a blistering hot day, and you could even get water damage when it all starts to melt. This is almost always a sign of one of two things. Either you're low on refrigerant, or, much more commonly, you've just got a really dirty air filter that's choking the system.
And then there's the one you absolutely cannot ignore, a cracked heat exchanger. This isn't just an inconvenience, this is a serious safety hazard. See, after years of heating up and cooling down, the metal walls inside your furnace can actually crack. When they do, they can leak deadly, odorless carbon monoxide right into the air that gets blown through your house. If your furnace is over 15 years old, or you see weird things like soot or a flickering yellow flame instead of a steady blue one, this is a code red. You need to get it checked immediately.
And then, maybe the most common and just plain frustrating failure of them all, the capacitor. It's this small electrical part that gives the motors the jolt they need to get started. When it fails, you'll hear your system try to turn on, you might hear a click or a hum, but nothing happens. Your entire multi-thousand-dollar system is being held hostage by one tiny, worn-out component.
So, when one of these parts gives out, you're faced with that huge, stressful question. Do you shell out for the repair, or is it finally time to invest in a whole new system? It can feel like a total gut decision, but there's actually a super simple rule of thumb that can give you a surprisingly clear answer.
It's called the $5,000 rule, and it is dead simple. Here's how it works. You take the age of your system in years, and you multiply it by what the repair is going to cost. If that number you get is over $5,000, then replacement is probably the smarter financial move in the long run.
Let's run through a quick example to make it crystal clear. Let's say you have a 12-year-old furnace, and the tech tells you it's a $500 repair. Okay, so you multiply 12 years by $500, and you get $6,000. Since that's over the $5,000 mark, the rule is telling you it's probably time to start shopping for a new furnace, because you're just throwing good money after bad on an aging unit that's likely to fail again. But the math doesn't stop there. There's another huge factor you have to consider: energy efficiency. I mean, the technology has come so far. A modern, high-efficiency system can slash your monthly heating and cooling bills by 20 to 40% compared to a system that's just a decade old. So even if a repair looks cheaper right now, the money you save on energy every single month with a new unit can easily make replacement the smarter investment.
Okay, so whether your system is brand new or getting on in years, there are some small, super simple habits you can get into that make a massive difference in its health and lifespan. And these are the things that prevent those expensive failures from happening in the first place.
And you know what? The single most important habit, the one that can save you from the single most expensive type of failure, it can be summed up in just one number: 3.
So that 3 stands for the 3-minute rule. Seriously, if your air conditioner shuts off for any reason, wait at least 3 full minutes before you turn it back on.
Why? Well, that simple pause lets the pressure inside the system balance out. If you fire it up too quickly, you're forcing the compressor, which is the heart of your AC, to start against this immense pressure, causing huge mechanical stress. Just following this one little rule could save you from a multi-thousand-dollar compressor replacement down the road. It's that simple.
When you boil it all down, everything we've talked about really leads to one simple conclusion. When it comes to your home's most critical appliance, being proactive isn't just a nice idea, it is the only strategy that actually makes sense. The best repair is always, always the one you don't have to make.
Look, you basically have two choices. There's the proactive path, which means regular maintenance that catches worn-out parts before they fail, which extends the system's life, and it usually gets you priority service if something does go wrong. And then there's the reactive path. Just wait for a total breakdown. That leads to expensive, incredibly stressful emergency calls right in the middle of a heat wave or a blizzard.
And you have to remember, these machines are not immortal. They don't last forever. As you can see here, the lifespans really vary, especially in those demanding climates we talked about. A furnace might give you 15 to 20 years, an air conditioner maybe 12 to 15, and a heat pump even less because it runs all year long. Knowing roughly where your system is on this timeline helps you plan for the future instead of being forced into a crisis.
Which brings us to one last question. Think about it. We obsess over paint colors, kitchen countertops, and landscaping. But what about the one appliance that literally dictates our comfort and our safety every single day of the year? Is your home's unsung hero just an afterthought, or are you giving it the attention it actually deserves?